Hello everyone. In this video we will discuss 19.5, the bacterial effects on human health. So we'll see what can bacteria do to our body in a good or bad way. So we will start with the good way first. Inside your body there are a huge number of bacteria living with you. As a matter of fact, it's not just inside your body, also outside your body, on your skin. These normally living bacteria, we call them the microbiota. The microbiota, the normal microbiota, they are bacteria and other microorganisms. They normally live with you, and actually they outnumber your cells. Yes, the number of normal microbiota bacteria are more than the number of our own cells. And the ratio is 10 to 1. So if there's a trillion cells inside us, that means there are 10 trillion bacteria in our body. On the right, you can see this figure. They're showing you that all these microbiota are living inside your gut, and obviously there are others that are living on your skin from the outside. So what do they do? Are they good or bad? They are good because they are our first defense against pathogens. That means they help you, they defend you against pathogen. I know it's bacteria. You always think about bacteria that they are harmful, but the ones that live in us, they are helpful. How do they defend us? They defend us through making lactic acid. Lactic acid, it's an acidic substance, and this make a bad environment for other bacteria. There are certain pathogens that hate to live in acidic mediums, and specifically lactic acid. So these pathogens will not be able to grow inside our body. Is there anything else that the microbiota can do to us? Yes. Some can produce vitamins, essential vitamins that's needed for life. Examples of these vitamins that are needed are vitamin B and vitamin K. And example of bacteria that produce vitamin K is the E. coli or the Escherichia coli. It is found in our gut. What about the harmful ones? Yes, there are harmful bacteria, and they cause many diseases we will be discussing now. But the question is, how can a tiny organism have the ability to harm us this bad? Well, many pathogens, they harm us by making toxins. These toxins, there are two types. There's the exo and the endotoxins. Let's start with the exo. The exotoxin is a substance that the bacteria release into the environment. For example, look at the figure here. So this is the bacteria, and it is making substances, and they are released to the outside. That's why it's called exotoxin, because the chemicals are exiting towards the outside. And then these chemicals, they travel and they go to other cells and they directly harm them. Example of these toxins is the botulinum toxin, which is made by a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. What this toxin is, it attacks attacks the nerve cells. And once it attacks the nerve cells, it can cause paralysis. That means you won't be able to move. So what about the other type of toxins? The endotoxins. What are endotoxins? Well, they indirectly harm us. First of all, these endotoxins are not released to the environment. Rather, they are only, look at the figure, they are on the surface of the bacteria. These molecules, once they are detected by your immune system will start a response. This response is called a shock. The immune system will think that this is an intruder that needs to be dealt with. So the immune system will develop a shock, which is high fever and aches. So what you will be feeling is basically caused by your body itself and not by the bacteria. Another bacterial diseases are the pertussis and the tuberculosis. The pertussis, which is called the whooping cough, and it's called that because of the sound that you do when you cough. And yes, it is caused by pertussis bacteria, and you start coughing in a very loud way, and it can be transmitted or spread to another person. So the pertussis and the tuberculosis. Hold on. Okay, so the pertussis and the tuberculosis are both respiratory diseases that can spread by coughs and sneeze. If you look at the figure here, this is a patient that has tuberculosis, and by coughing, he is sending the bacteria to another guy. What is the name of the bacteria that causes tuberculosis? It's called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It actually infects 1/3 of the human population, but most of the time the infection is inactive. That means the bacteria is not growing or harming or anything. But in certain people, the bacteria becomes active, and this will lead to growing in the lungs and causing coughing, chest pain, fever, or even weight loss. And each year, unfortunately, more than 1 million people die of tuberculosis. Next is the impetigo. The impetigo is a skin disease. It is caused by two kinds of bacteria, streptococcus and staphylococcus, and you can see them in the figure on the right. This is the streptococcus and this is the staphylococcus. These kinds of bacteria are gram positive, and also the streptococcus, you probably heard of it because it also causes strep throat. You probably had strep throat. It's when you cannot swallow, and it's when you feel pain during swallowing when you're sick. Another bacterial disease have the ability to be transmitted by sexual contact. Examples of these diseases are the gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia. So you don't have to know more about these diseases, but just know that they are sexually transmitted. Next is the cholera. The cholera is caused by a bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. This bacteria is mainly found in contaminated water. And this bacteria produce an exotoxin that will go to the intestines and do a malfunction in the intestinal cells. That means the intestinal cells will no longer work properly, and this will result in diarrhea. I know you think diarrhea is not a bad thing, but the diarrhea caused by cholera is big. the diarrhea is potentially fatal. Like, it's not a regular diarrhea, so the person will lose all the water in the body, and this will lead to dehydration and potential death. Millions of people each year are infected with cholera, and each year around 100,000 people die because of this. And that's why we should be careful what water to drink. We need to make sure it's not contaminated. We can't just simply drink from like nature, because we need to make sure that the water is clean. And most of the food poisoning we have, it's because of a bacteria that was found on animal feces. Because if you are in a farm and you decided to take a fruit and eat it, like, make sure you wash it, because probably an animal pooped on it and it has bacteria in it. So be careful about that. The last disease that you are responsible for is the Lyme. The Lyme is caused by spirochetes, and this bacteria is living in a tick. Tick is a kind of insect, like the lice lives in the hair of humans. These ticks carry the spirochetes, and once it bites you, it gives you the disease. That's why Lyme is a vector-borne bacterial disease. Vector means the disease is carried by an animal, and in this case, it's the tick. This is the vector. And if you look on the right in the figure, you can see the shape of the spirochetes. They are spiral, they look like a spring. So the infection is caused when you are bit by the tick, and when you're bit, a bullseye-shaped rash will appear on the skin. Let me show you. Oh, it's not following here. Anyway, it's like a bullseye-shaped rash. It will appear on the hand. What are you gonna feel? What are you gonna feel is that flu. You're gonna feel like you have flu. So you're gonna have flu-like symptoms and a long-term infection. If not treated, you're gonna have a long-term infection that can cause harm, or can harm the joints and the nervous system. I will repeat. So this bacteria, it's going to cause flu-like symptoms, but if it wasn't treated well and if it continued for a long time, this can harm the joints and the nervous system. And that's everything you need to know about this lesson. Good luck.